Okay, I'm switching off my video. Can this work? Yeah.
Hello, this is Faridun Kazrabi from Venera Technologies. Thank you for joining our webinar VenWeb106, new features in our new Pulsar release 6.3. Just a reminder that your audio will be shut off or turned off during this short 30-minute webinar, but please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen to ask any questions you have, and we'll be happy to answer it. We'll wait a few minutes for others to join, and then we'll get started. Again, we'll start in another minute as people are still joining in. Just keep in mind that your audio is muted during this short session, and please use the Q&A button on your screen to send us any questions you have. We'll be happy to answer it. We'll start in about another minute. All right, let me get started. Again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. Welcome to our webinar, VenWeb106, new features in our new Pulsar 6.3. I'm Faridun Kazrabi from Venera Technologies, and with me is Vikas Singhal, who will sit in as a panelist and will help with answering any questions that may come up. We held a series of very successful webinars during in April, during the time that NAB was canceled. And so as a result, we decided to continue the format to make announcements such as this for new features for Pulsar 6.3. So again, as more people are joining in, just as a reminder, your audio is muted, and please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to send us any questions you have. We'll be happy to answer it during the session or afterwards. Okay, so our agenda for today is a short webinar, so we're going to go through this quickly. As a reminder of the various views QC offerings that we have, then we'll spend bulk of our time talking about the Pulsar 6.3 new features and demonstrating many of them to you. We will talk about the Pulsar, who's eligible for the upgrade to 6.3, and also the various upgrade options that you have. We quickly will talk about the remote QC options and take any questions that you may have. There's a tiny quick poll at the end that we'll do, and that will be the session. So with that, first thing I want to do very quickly, just for fun of it, is a quick poll that it's just for fun that I'd like you to fill out and to start the process. So I'm launching the poll. It's really straightforward. 2 questions. As a result of COVID-19 pandemic, I've been working remotely from home. This is anonymous, so please feel free to answer the questions. Whether you're working 100% from home, you're working between home and office both, or you're going still to the office. Also, as the second question is if I am as or even more productive working remotely, or I'm not as productive working remotely, or you can't wait to get back to the office. Again, this is anonymous. It's just a quick thing to get us started. So if you could take a moment and fill this in, I would really appreciate it. It would be a fun thing to do so we can understand where everybody's at. We'll give it another 30 seconds. Go ahead and fill that out. It's anonymous. Quick answer just for fun of it so we can see where everybody's at. Okay, so interestingly enough, let me share the results with you. There's a couple more votes are coming in. Okay, so let's close the poll and share the result with you. As expected, everybody is working from home, which is great, and 2/3 of you thought that you're as productive, if not more productive, working remotely, and 1/3 thought that you're not as productive working. So interesting short little survey for our own base to get a sense of what's going on. So let's move on. All right, so let's get to the bulk of our work here. So very quickly, you are a Pulsar user, so you're familiar with this, but basically we have 3 offerings. Just as a reminder, many of you are on-premise Pulsar users, so you have the permanent license, which is one of the fastest QCs, is the fastest QC in the market. We also have a Pulsar pay-per-use option, which is for you the only usage-based QC solution in the world. It allows the same functionality as Pulsar, but in a pay-per-use model for those who don't have as much volume, or you can do it on a monthly subscription. And then, of course, if you're considering the cloud, we have our Quasar native cloud solution, which has same QC capabilities as Pulsar, but it's in the cloud, and it takes advantage of the cloud capabilities in terms of dynamic scalability and so on. We have subscription-based modeling for Quasar, as well as we just announced the ad hoc usage pricing. So you could, if you don't have as much content, but you still want to use the cloud, you can certainly do that and use it occasionally as you need it on an ad hoc basis. In terms of the new features we have added to Pulsar, there are a lot of new additions we have added there. So they're listed, some of them are listed here on this slide, which I'll go in more detail. And this is the other set of items. These are the ones that I'll actually do a demo for you. And so let's get to these features. The first one is actually a somewhat of a small thing. However, it seems to have a lot of impact. A lot of people like it, and I've been asking for it, is the improvements to the File Explorer. In the past, the File Explorer did not remember where you were at last. And so if you went to back to File Explorer, you had to go find the folder again. And also it only showed the drive letter. Now the Explorer remembers the last browse file path, and also it shows you the volume as well as the drive. So you can see this is how it was before, and this is how the Explorer looks now. It just makes the process of finding files and processing them easier and more convenient. We have added support for the DNxHR codec, and so that's now on the under the video parameter tab is the new codec we have added. Similarly, we have added support for Canopus HQ and HQX, which was requested very heavily from our customers in Japan, but it's available for anyone who has need for it. One of the big things we have done is we have integrated a new JPEG 2000 decoder with Pulsar to improve the decoding of JPEG 2000. As a result, the JPEG 2000 analysis is done 5 to 6 times faster than it used to be done before. So it's quite an improvement. The new decoder is available as an add-on purchasable option, or otherwise, if you don't use JPEG 2000 or don't have as much use for it, you can continue using the old decoder. As a sample performance data, we ran a 4-minute, 12-second file, which was 115 megabit per second JPEG 2000, and it only took a little over 5 minutes to process, which is quite fast for the kind of content that it is. The other thing we have added is the wildcard support for the start time code in the MXF. So you can use the asterisk in the hour field for the time code, so that it will ignore the hour field and uses the other fields to get the time code. And here's a short list of a few other items that we have added. We now have the Harding PSC, which is very popular in UK, Europe, and Japan, and is becoming more popular in the US as part of the ad hoc usage in Pulsar PPU. It has been part of the Pulsar perpetual license for a long time, and now we have added that for the Pulsar PPU users as well. The Harding PSC certificate is now available in Japanese for our Japanese customers. We have enhanced the Netflix templates that for licensed content delivery, and it has been reviewed by Netflix. So in the new release of Pulsar, all the templates have been updated and in the factory template tab. We also have improved the rule set in Rapid. For those of you who are not familiar and are not using Rapid, for the ones who are familiar with this, Rapid is a small add-on to Pulsar for particularly broadcasters or anyone who deals with hundreds of files per day, and allows for very quick check and sort, so you can check your files and sort them into different buckets before you're doing more full QC with Pulsar. And so that has been improved to account for the new codecs that we have added. So that's there. And here's the list of the other features, which I'll actually use the demo for you and show you in Pulsar. So the first one is the file name validation support. So we can now validate the name of the file based on the setting in the template, whether you want certain characters to be allowed or not be allowed, uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and or special characters, as well as we can now dump the MediaInfo metadata as part of the report. So you can choose which choice of the MediaInfo metadata you want, and then that information and that format will be as part of the report. So let me go back to our Pulsar interface. You're all Pulsar users, so you're familiar with this, but let me show you the template and quickly run just one job. So in the template, under the container, you now can choose to validate the file name. In this case, we have said digits are not allowed, and we have chosen that all the formats of the MediaInfo should be dumped. So that's what the template is. So I'm going to go to submit this one job. So I pick my file, I pick my template, and I submit the job. And of course, then you can go to the job monitor and see the job running. And once the job completes, you go to the job process link to see the result. And so this is what the result looks like. So this is the typical Pulsar report that you're familiar with. In this case, we ran it against a file that had digit numbers in it, and so it reported it back as an error that it found characters that were not allowed, which was the 0 through 9. Also, you will notice here that the MediaInfo information is now shown as part of the report. They are viewable by clicking on the view. We'll show you the MediaInfo in the browser. And if you and these files are added to the report folder as well. So let me show you that. So this is the report folder. Within it, there is now a MediaInfo folder, and within this folder, all the various formats that you requested are now present. So that has been requested by a few of our customers. So now that's part of the package. The next feature is our enhancements to HDR for Dolby Vision. Just a very, very quick tutorial about HDR. As you know, for Dolby Vision, there are two sets of metadata in the file, the static metadata, which is at the beginning of the file, and there's dynamic data metadata, which is essentially metadata available before each shot. So each shot has its own metadata. So it's a dynamic metadata in green, and the yellow or orange one is the static metadata. There are a variety of things that Pulsar checks for Dolby Vision, for conformance Dolby Vision, make sure they're valid. The new item we added here is a duplicate, detecting duplicate dynamic metadata. So these green metadata blocks cannot be the same for all the shots. They're supposed to be different because the shots are different. And in some cases, they're copied from one to the other, which causes them to, which is not correct, and the display will not show as well. And this is an issue, so that the Pulsar can now detect it. And I think it is one of the items that Netflix is also very concerned about. So that feature has been added. So let me show you that in the template. So in the video tab and the HDR sub-tab of video tab, here's where you would add the checks for duplicate dynamic metadata. And once you run the report, this is what the report looks like. So if the file has duplicate metadata, it will show up in the report. You could have it show up as a warning or as an error based on how you want to set up your template. So the next item that we have added support for is the emergency alert system, EAS. So we can, as you are aware, particularly in the US, the emergency alert system tone cannot be used, either the exact tone or even the proximity of that tone cannot be used in any content, broadcast content, because that conflicts with what the government wants to do in terms of using that tone specifically for alerts and emergency use. So, and there's a fine for content, and there are many examples of that when content has either the EAS tone or something similar to the EAS tone in the content. So now we have added the feature in there where Pulsar will detect and report back if the EAS tone itself or within plus or minus 200 hertz of the EAS tone is present in the content, because people have gotten fined for even content, even tones that are similar but not exactly even the same as the EAS. So that's all available in Pulsar now. And I would also suggest you look at a new blog we have put on our website at veneratech.com about the EAS. I think you will find it quite fascinating, interesting, and a list of various instances in which this issue has come up. So the way you would use it in Pulsar, again, let me show you in the template. So in the audio tab, quality parameters tab, it's a simple check here, EAS tone, you detect emergency alert system tone. That's all you need to do. And the result is that in the report, if the EAS tone has been detected, you get the error message with the location, time code of where it occurs, what channel has occurred in, so you'll know, so you can make the correction. The next improvement we have made is in terms of the IMF enhancements. As you may know, we have the most extensive set of IMF checks for IMF of any tool in the market, and as we have been very involved and engaged with the IMF user group and the various activities there. So we continue to enhance it, and in this release we have done the same. We have had additional enhancements for the IMF package, so we have added support for sidecar checks. And so let me show you in the interface. So in the package tab of the template, which is where you would use to check for IMF, and we have a long list of IMF checks that we have made available. we can now detect various sidecar issues. And now, if you're not familiar with IMF, this may be a little bit foreign to you, but these are the kind of checks that are required to make sure that the IMF packages are valid, and that the power of IMF is in the variety of ways that you can package things together, but at the same time you need to verify them, check to make sure all the components are in place. So if you run a job like that on a package that IMF package, in this case the sidecar had issues, for example, the CPL for an asset in the sidecar composition map is not actually in the package. So the composition playlist that's associated with this asset is not actually in the asset. Similar issue has showed up second time. So errors like that can be easily caught. This will be rather difficult to do by a person. So this automation process helps with that. And also what we do with IMF is we actually, based on the composition playlist, we create a virtual content, the video, audio track, and subtitle tracks that need to be put together as part of this composition playlist recipe, and then we QC the entire content as if it's a actual piece of content. Even though it's virtually put together, we can QC it like we would do normally and return back any issues and results found. The next item I wanted to talk to you about is the language ID enhancement. This actually was added in our last release. We haven't had a chance to talk about it. It's a really exciting feature in which we're now able to, we have been for some time, analyze the audio and return back the spoken language. So we currently support 12 languages, and we can easily expand on those languages to many more. And so Pulsar listens to the audio, it determines the language, it can compare the language with what's in the metadata, so you can have it check it against cross-check it with metadata, or against what user defines and expects to be the languages of those tracks. And there's even an option of correcting the metadata tag in the file if the language that the Pulsar finds is not, or the language that's in the metadata tag is not right, and Pulsar found the right language, it can replace it. So to show you, in the template, so in the audio tab of the template, in quality parameters, towards the bottom is the language identification. So you can choose what languages you want to include in the pool of languages that Pulsar will look at. And then in this case, we have defined that the first track should be Italian, the second track should be English. We want to cross-check it with the container metadata. In this case, we have chosen not to correct it, but just to report it, depending on what it finds. And to show you the result. So this file was ran through. It has two tracks, the Italian language track and the German language track. And then as part of the process, we're processing the audio track. And the first track, we found that the language is Italian, so that's fine. However, for the second track, Pulsar determined the language was English, which of course doesn't match with what was in the metadata track, so it reports as an error that English was found, which does not match the container language tag, which was German. So this could be quite handy for content that includes multiple languages. I know it's a bit of a hassle to check every track to make sure the language is proper, so this helps with the process. The other thing we have added is the ability to verify the color space. This feature was added as one of the conditions that, one of the many conditions that for Netflix. So this feature was also added. It's a simple check that when you go to the video tab, right up front on the sequence level checks, you can determine, you can choose what you expect your color space to be, YUV, RGB, or XYZ. And And this is what the report looks like. So if it finds that it found the color space to be XYZ, which does not match what we had defined as YUV, for it to be the YUV, and as a result, it reports an error. The next two checks I want to tell you about is for color gamut enhancements we have done and Luma violation enhancements. In both cases, we have now added ability to use the EBU R103 filter. In the past, we were not using the R103 filter, and as a result, you would potentially get false positives of errors for color gamut or Luma violation. Whereas with the use of the filter, we only look at the active region for those values, and so that the content may actually be correct and valid if you use the filter properly. So here's what it looks like. So in the video tab, in the quality parameters sub-tab, under the Luma violation, now you can choose the EBU R103 filter. And same with RGB gamut, you can use EBU 103 filter. By doing so, let me show you first the report without the filter. If you run the same job with for color gamut and Luma violations, you would potentially get some errors, which are actually false positive, because if you add the filter and run the run the report again, it will pass successfully, and there won't be any error. So that feature helps reduce false positives. And finally, for the QuickTime, a lot of our customers have been asking for these additional checks for the QuickTime container. So we can now detect disabled tracks. Some of customers wanted to be able to detect that. We can also detect multiple codec entries in the sample description table. So that can be done, as well as if the timecode track must be present, and if it's present, there should be only one. Those can also be detected. So to show you in the template, in the container, in the QuickTime, we have added the abilities right here, so you can check for detecting disabled tracks, detecting multiple codec entries, as well as making sure timecode track is present and it's only one of them. So if you look at the report, so this detected that the multiple codec entries were found. This other job detected that there are multiple tracks in this file, and track 9 has been disabled, so it detects it and reports it back. And finally, for this job, there are 2 timecode tracks were found, so only one is allowed. So that's reported back. Okay, so that was a rather quick look at our various features that we have added to Pulsar 6.3 that's available as part of the new release. In terms of who's eligible for Pulsar 6.3, if you are an existing Pulsar PPU user, you can download it from the Pulsar PPU portal that you're familiar with on Monday. The update will be done this weekend and will be available for you on Monday. If you are a Pulsar Standard, Pulsar Pro license holder, the Pulsar release is available now. And if you have active annual support with us, just contact us and we'll get you the software. And if you are a Pulsar user whose support subscription has expired, again, you can activate your support by contacting us, and then you'll be able to upgrade. In terms of the upgrade, again, for PPU users, it's easy. You go to the portal on Monday and you're able to download it. For license holders, please contact us and we'll provide the 6.3 directly to you if your subscription is active, and otherwise you can bring it up to date and then we'll get the software to you. with all upgrades, just to be extra cautious, we always recommend two things. One is you export all of your templates out, and also you back up the Pulsar database before you do the upgrade. And to back up, and let me actually show it to you. You go to System Settings, and this is the database backup. And in fact, if you haven't set this up already, you should do that so you can get a regular, normal backup of your database on a regular basis. You can keep as many back versions as you want and how often you want it to be backed up. In this example, we back it up every 3 days, and we're keeping the last 10 versions of it. So this will be great for you to set up if you haven't done so already, and also use the Backup Now button to back up the database before you do the upgrade. If you're currently using Pulsar 6.x, so 6.0, 6.1, or 6.2, yeah, once you download the software and then you start the installation process, choose the upgrade software option when prompted, and then it will upgrade the software, and then you are ready to go. If you are running older version of Pulsar, 5.x, then our suggestion is that first, of course, you do backup your export your templates and backup your database. But when you go to install the software, when you get to 6.3 and you go to installation process, the first option that's given to you, uninstall the software first, then run the Pulsar 6.3 installer again, and this time it will be a fresh installation. And when prompted, tell it to import the database that you had just backed up. So all your data will be back with you, but you were running on a Pulsar 6.3. So hopefully that clarifies the steps involved. Very quickly, since most of us, all of us are working from home these days, I just want to remind you, if you're working from home and you need access to Pulsar, there is Pulsar PPU that you can run on a laptop and a small computer. It has the same capabilities as the full Pulsar, except it's obviously it's a bit slower and it can only process one file at a time. So you can use that at home, and it's a usage-based pricing. So you can use it for as you need it. Or if you're thinking about cloud or your content is in the cloud, you can use our Quasar software in the cloud. It has the same QC capabilities with a monthly subscription, or we just added the ad hoc ability, so you can do you pay as you go option as well. So both options are available to you. If you're interested, please contact us. We'll be happy to help you with that. If there are any questions, please let us know. And while we're waiting, I thought it would be interesting to do one other very quick poll that would help us. Hold on one second. So we would appreciate it if you would take a minute to fill out this new poll. It's anonymous, so we would appreciate your help filling that out to help us better understand, number one, what if you thought this session was useful for you or not, and number two, of the features that I covered for you, and there were quite a few of them. If you could mark any on choose all those that apply that you found to be interesting for you. And finally, if you have any interest in additional webinars, let us know. Choose as many options as you like that you would like us to do a webinar about. We hope to do more of these webinars, so we like to get feedback from you in terms of what's helpful for you, so we can put those webinars for you. Again, first one is just what you thought of the session. Second one, which one of the features we showed you were of importance to you. And the third one, which other webinars will be of interest to you. This is anonymous. We're not going to share that results on the screen here. This is just for us to know, so it's completely anonymous. It will help us quite a bit, so we'd appreciate it if you could fill that out. Many of you have. I appreciate if others would also take a minute to do this. It will be helpful for us going forward. We'll give it another 30 seconds or so. All right. Thank you so much for doing the poll. Thank you for your time attending the webinar. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, let me end the poll here. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at faridun@veneratech.com, or if that's too hard, you can just send an email to sales@veneratech.com. And here are additional links available to you. feel free to contact us with any questions. And if you want to upgrade to the next latest release 6.3, we'll be happy to help you. Otherwise, I hope you're safe and well and healthy at home. Hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.